Principal Dr. Jasbir Kaur, our teacher in charge Professor Dharti Narwani, and everyone present here. I, Dwani Bhatt, on behalf of the MCOM committee, would like to welcome each and every one of you to the masterclass with our guest speaker, Ms. Palak Khanna. With social media gaining continuous momentum, it's so important to have that social presence in today's day and age, be it for your prospective employer or for your future college admissions head. Ms. Palak Khanna is here with us today to reveal the secrets about how to build a business empire on LinkedIn. She is the founder of Break the Ice, a regional officer for Asia Pacific, and Pride of the Nation award winner. She has been featured at US Times Now, The Hindu, The Global India. Being a panelist at many competitions, she has helped shape young minds. Achieving so many stellar recognitions at a young age of only 19 is truly a feat. We are here very excited to learn from you today. With this, I extend a warm welcome to you and request you to begin with the session. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. I'm sorry for the background noise if you all can hear it. I'm trying to ignore that. But yes, hi everyone. I can't see you all, but I hope that you're active in the comments when I ask smaller questions in the middle. I just expect that much because I'm 19 myself. I understand that you don't really want to get bored. And I would also keep it short. I have just packed it up with a lot of information so that if you guys do get inspired from my journey, you can directly implement what I teach you directly in your own journey on LinkedIn. So I think I should just get started, right? Should I share my screen?
Yes, go ahead.
Awesome. So I hope my screen is visible and I'm just starting out now. So today we'll just be talking about honestly my journey on LinkedIn, how I started out, why I started out, how was it such a weird starting out journey. I will be talking about that and how you can do it too. Honestly, everybody can. It's just maybe we haven't even, got the right guidance to start out as young people, or maybe it's just that we don't want to because we procrastinate too much. So in either ways, I'm here to just tell you all that you really need to get started because you're missing out on a lot of things. So a little bit about me while it was covered in my introduction. Thank you so much for that. I am Palak. I am 19 years old. I have an organization. It's called Break the Ice. And I'll just be talking about it a little bit later. But I'm also a social entrepreneur, mentor, teacher, and an environmentalist. I'm India's 20 under 20, and I also love creating content on LinkedIn, despite being the huge introvert that I am. And I have over 39,000 followers there, and I've tried to learn on how people actually talk over there to just adapt to the space that is, becoming in terms of social media. Along with that, I have also served as the youngest panelist for the Business Blasters program. For those who know about it, it was a Government of Delhi program for everything around business. And yes, everything else you can actually read on your screens. I'll be moving forward. I really do not feel like we should focus on this. So when I move forward, just give me a second. Yes. In terms of my journey and how I started out, this is not your normal, boring, inspiring journey. It's just very, very random. From the time that I was very young, I have been the biggest introvert that you'll ever meet. I never used to talk to anybody about, let alone my feelings about anything practically. And I just thought I want to create change in the society. So 10-year-old me used to tell my mom every day that I don't know what I want to do when I grow up, but I want to create change. But I don't know how because I don't even talk to people. I've said this so many times to my mom, and she's told me that if you know your shortcoming, why not improve it? But I never really did. Exams happened, school happened, and I kind of stayed in my own shell. Um, Fast forward to the pandemic. It was during the pandemic that one day I overheard this conversation between my mom and my domestic help. My domestic help had had her periods at our place. She was shying away from asking for pads. And I told my mom, we live in the 21st century. We can't be the ones who are pushing forward stigmas like these because at the end of the day, menstruation periods, mental health, all of it is so, so important. And we just keep on ignoring it because maybe we fear judgment, or maybe it's simply because society has pushed it under this carpet of ignorance. So I think that's where my journey started. It was after that moment that I was like, okay, I need to create a space where we talk about all things not talked about. So I opened my organization. It's called Break the Ice, where we try to literally break the ice about taboo topics and stigmatized topics, and ultimately anything that society doesn't want to talk about. So that is how my journey actually started. And I just kind of stepped out of my comfort zone in that trigger moment of overhearing that conversation, because I was never someone who could dream of being an entrepreneur, because again, I was too introverted and too in my own space to be doing that, because I knew my father is a businessman and I knew that business requires you to talk to people, to your community, to your customers, your investors, your team. And I was like, I can't do this. This is, even in my moments of existential crisis, I was like, no, this is not happening. I can't be an entrepreneur. But things turned out the way they did. And at the end of the day, today, I am a very happy social entrepreneur, and I'm working towards just expanding Break the Ice for the cause that it works for. So, what is Break the Ice? Again, I told you all about it. It's all things taboo, helping in creating an enlightened global youth community. We are working for the youth, by the youth, and we are just trying to create that change and take that initiative towards working towards change. We have reached out to 25,000 people. We are in 10 plus countries, and we're currently working as a UNSTS and youth member organization. So that's just a little bit about Break the Ice. And that moment of just opening an organization, experimenting with it around 2 to 3 months, made me realize that maybe I am in a very limited space where I can't potentially get customers. Again, I wasn't looking for customers because I was building a community. But I was like, who am I talking to at the end of the day? It's just my very close friends, or extended family, or maybe my school. That is all that I have in my life. So that's when I realized maybe I need to get on social media. And by social media, I do not mean Instagram, where we are just sharing pictures, because I realized maybe Instagram isn't the place where you are, telling them some serious stuff or things like taboos. So that's when I landed up on LinkedIn. And, you know, all of us believed, at least I don't know if how many of you still believe it, but I used to assume that LinkedIn is a professional platform, that it's that platform where only professionals are there. They're just talking about jobs and careers. And I was told that it's not something that I need to look into at the age of 18, 19. And it was something later on in life. So I think I kind of ignored LinkedIn for a very long time. And when I wanted to look for a serious space where I just market my organization and actually get to the point where we break taboos, is when I landed up on LinkedIn. So that's how I practically ended up on LinkedIn. And I was, for 1 to 2 months, I was just an observer. I was just reading content. I was learning about how people actually express themselves, because I realized I don't have the capacity to do that, because I don't even know what kind of conversations are happening. So I really need to firstly adapt to the platform. And one thing happened, and it led to another. And I was like, okay, I want to put forward my opinion on this controversial topic. And that is how I started writing on the platform. That is how it started. And in 1 year, I've been able to create content, grow my profile to 39K. I've recently got featured on LinkedIn News. I mean, it was my forever dream, but it happened in 2023, in like the second day of 2023. So I was like, wow, that's a great start. And I've actually also met over 4,000 creators, collaborated with them on and through LinkedIn. So it's not just about the numbers, it's also about creating human interactions or connections, basically, because they will also practically help you a lot in your life. Maybe they guide you, maybe they become your mentors, maybe they become a part of your organizations, maybe they end up giving you jobs. Anywhere, you are going to get that help from them. So I'm just trying to kind of tell you all that you're missing out if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, or maybe not an optimized LinkedIn profile. So I'll be talking about optimization a little later. I try to include this in 1 or 2 of my courses, but I thought I will help you all because you're all of the same age as me. So I never got that guidance. I think you all should. So moving forward, things that I realized in and being a part of LinkedIn was that if you're a student, your community might not take you seriously in terms of your skills. It's like that age stigma which is still there, and we're kind of going to ignore it rather than rant about it, but also learn how you can shine in that age, because our age can be a benefit for us, where we say, okay, we're just 19 but doing this much, or it could be a big disadvantage for us, where people are like, oh, they're just 19, what are they doing? So, and whenever you write the age in your bios, people would assume that, okay, they are students, they're only focusing on studies. Maybe they aren't even upskilling themselves or exploring opportunities for life. So that is something that I learned very initially the moment I got on LinkedIn, that, okay, if you write you're a student, you are going to, have to prove yourself in the field that you're working in. Even if you don't know what you're doing, at least you will have to prove yourself in whatever you're expressing yourself in. And the second thing that I learned was that you might perceive LinkedIn to be solely professional and like just a job seeking platform, but it's much, much more than that. I've been able to get, a world record just out of connecting with a company that told me that, I think you deserve a world record for social impact. So I've actually become a world record holder simply because of one LinkedIn DM. So I think you really need to understand it's not just for professional growth or for jobs, but practically for a lot of things that will build you up for that job. So that's something I learned. The third thing that I learned was that utilizing your network on LinkedIn can act as a make or break for you. Again, you might have like 10,000 people following you, but if you're not able to make the most out of them, it comes down to zero practically. And even if you have like 100 connections, you're not even a public account. If you're able to make the most out of those 100 connections, then you're winning at LinkedIn. It's like that. But of course, I would suggest that you create content just because I have seen my growth and I feel like all of you can grow too. So that's just the third thing that I learned. The fourth thing that I learned was that starting out on LinkedIn isn't difficult. We just keep on procrastinating. I've been in those shoes. I still am. I'm like, whenever I have to write something, I'm like procrastinating for 5 hours and then getting down to business. But, the sooner you realize that you're just maybe wasting time and wasting opportunities, you'll get down to writing on LinkedIn. So I think you have to just focus on what is the end goal. And I'll be talking about the whys a little later. And the number one mistake and the myth that I heard from LinkedIn, and the thing that I realized was people used to tell me that if you have no prior experience, then you have no LinkedIn profile. What are you writing in your profile if you have no prior experience? That's when I realized this is the biggest myth. I've seen 12, 13, 14-year-olds with no experience growing so much on LinkedIn that they're now meeting people of value and of importance. People we'll never imagine to meet, like prime ministers and ministers and presidents and everybody you can imagine. They're getting funded to go to foreign universities to study. And they're like 12, 13-year-olds, and obviously they don't have any prior experience. It's just the way that they've created their profile that they've gotten those opportunities. So I think that is one of the biggest myths that I learned about very later. So if you guys are freshers, again, I have just learned through LinkedIn on how to get the opportunities. So if you're starting out, you're probably a fresher or with one or two internships. Remember that that does not define your LinkedIn profile. Your LinkedIn can include a lot more than just experiences. It can include courses to highlight how you are upskilling yourself continuously. And you guys would know where to get the courses from. Coursera and everything exists. Just go online, take courses that would practically help you in getting a job or opening your own startup, and highlight that in your LinkedIn profile. If you feel like courses are not your thing, maybe add societies. You're all in college, we are all in college. And if you're focusing on building your career or highlighting your leadership positions, try using societies in your LinkedIn profile. It has this separate space to write about everything other than your experience. So if your experience is zero, it doesn't really matter if everything else is filled. So I think it's about understanding where to leverage what you have. Because I've met 2 or 3 recruiters who basically told me that we don't even look at experience. We look at what they learned through whatever they did. So whether it was an internship or a course or being a part of a society or leading your school's football team, I'm just giving an example. But practically, at the end of the day, it's just about the learnings to get to know you a little better, to understand whether you would be fit for a job. So this is one of the biggest myths. I wanted to focus on this because this is something I also believed in 1 year back. I also thought, if you don't have any prior experience, why do you want to create a LinkedIn profile? Because it's a little bit embarrassing when you have nothing to write about. And gradually I realized, okay, this is also one of those myths that I need to get over. So when I went on LinkedIn, and I wanted to include this as a part of the masterclass, because this is something which is important. This is something that you all should learn about. If you already know, awesome. If you don't, I'm here to tell you. So I think a lot of you would have heard about personal branding, right? Again, I'm not asking you all to unmute. Can you write in the chat yes or no? I just want to see how many people actually know about personal branding. Awesome. It's become a buzzword. So it's great that you all already know about it. It's because essentially it makes my life easier. And also, I think it can convince you all to like get started on building your personal brand. So essentially, Your personal brand is what people will talk about you when you're not in the room. That's what I learned from one of my mentors. It stuck with me because I was like, yeah, this is precisely what it is all about. When I'm not in a room, if someone says Palak Khanna and other people know about me, what will they talk about me? Will they say simply 19-year-old? Will they say social entrepreneur? Will they say LinkedIn creator? What will they cover? That is your personal brand. And you have to frame it in a manner where it benefits you. Again, we all do a lot of things in our life, but you have to build your personal brand according to what you want to show. It doesn't have to be everything if you don't want to show everything. It doesn't have to be only one thing if you want to show everything. It's up to you. And I'd added this picture. Just give me a second. I'd added this picture because I know everybody knows all three of them. Maybe you don't know the second one, but I hope you do. But technically, you know all three of them, right? Why do we know them? We know them beyond their professions. If you know what I mean by this, you already know what a personal brand is. Because when we talk about Virat Kohli, for example, you just don't know him as a cricketer. You know him as much more as a person because he's built a personal brand which is humanly, which is around entrepreneurship. He has his own brand, which is around loving cricket, about failures, about getting over it, about being a good father, everything and anything, right? So, just taking his example or taking any of their examples was a way to highlight how they've also built their personal brands so that you understand that even successful people need to do it. Because if you're only an actor, you will become irrelevant after a point. If you're a cricketer, when you retire, you will get irrelevant. And essentially, all of us don't want to get irrelevant. And why are we even comparing to them? Because they're like 20 years plus our age. But for us to understand how your personal brand works, these are important. So I include this slide everywhere I go, and half of the people don't know who the second person, like the middle picture, is. I hope you all know. I mean, if anybody can write in the chat, if you don't know, I'm extremely disappointed with Gen Z at the moment. Actually, people, yes, thank you so much. It's Mark Zuckerberg, guys. Yes. So again, we all know Mark Zuckerberg also for a lot of things, right? You can even call him a motivational speaker at this point because he is really good at what he talks about. So again, your personal brand works in different ways. It works for successful people. It works for non-successful people. I don't want to take names; it will get controversial. But you also know some people as just in a negative light. You can take examples of actresses because they've also built their personal brand in a way where they're too expressive in a way that people get a little uncomfortable. So your personal brand can work in a positive or a negative way, whichever way you want to build it. And LinkedIn as a platform helps you do that because it's not just about what you're talking about. There are half of the people who don't even create content on LinkedIn. There are only 1% of people who actually create content on LinkedIn out of the 8 billion who visit the website every day or the app every day. These are the stats that the LinkedIn News had released last year. And when I read about this, I realized that, okay, what about those people who have a good profile but are not writing? Are they getting the opportunities? And I realized, yes, they did. Because it's not necessary that you're always writing something to get, to reach out to people or build a community. It's not always about building a personal brand in the open. It can also mean that your profile is so well made that whoever comes on it is going to follow you or give you an opportunity or at least collaborate with you in the future. So your profile needs to be very optimized. Again, like I talked about, your personal brand is essentially what people say or talk about you when you're not in the room. And it's one's story, basically. For me, if I have to say my personal brand, what I want to build as my personal brand, it's still not even 40% there, would be an introvert turned ambivert. I'm still not an extrovert, I would say that, but an introvert turned ambivert trying out, trying to change the world, something like that, because I feel like that covers essentially everything about my story. So for all of you, you also need to know that your personal brand is not just very, very technical stuff, interned here, did this, did that, but also your story. Moving forward, a lot of people ask me this question: I am a person, why do I need to be a brand? And I'm a student, do I really need to build a personal brand? For both of these questions, you are already a personal brand. For a lot of people who assume that personal branding is only for, I mean, a brand is not supposed to be a person, it's wrong. All of us are already personal brands basis our age, our skills, what we are pursuing, where we come from, and sadly our gender as well. But we have to understand how we can build our personal brand in an effective way. Even when we talk about being a student and building a personal brand, at the end of the day, all of us want to earn money, or at the end of the day, all of us want to be successful. I won't say money, but all of us want to be successful. For us, success can mean different things. It can mean social impact, it can be getting more jobs, it can mean earning money. But at the end of the day, all of us want to be successful. And for us to be successful, we need a personal brand. And since we are living in a digital world, building a personal brand online also becomes very important, because your LinkedIn can become your next digital resume. Even if you give a physical resume, or you submit your resume online, you are technically also adding your LinkedIn profile link. And that is how you're building your personal brand. So even if you're a person, obviously we all are, even if you are a student, at the end of the day, everybody needs to build a personal brand because it already exists. We just need to make the most out of it, or make a solid personal brand for whatever we are aiming to do in life. So moving forward, this is a slide I included in one of my investor pitches, and I thought this is so relevant to all of us as students also. When we are building a personal brand, when we're talking about personal branding, technically it's very important that we think of ourselves as products. Because if, and the moment I say your favorite brand, there is a brand which will come to your mind. But the strongest brands, and every brand that we're thinking about, would have a combination of being powerful in their message, authentic in their approach, being consistent, being visible, and being valuable. So when we think of ourselves as products, we have to realize that we have to also combine these things when we are telling our stories or building a personal brand for ourselves. And I included this because I feel like the moment I say favorite brand, all of us are thinking of a specific brand. For me, it's Nike. And it's very powerful in its approach when it's telling you to, even its tagline, just do it. It's extremely powerful, but they're also authentic in their own way, and they're extremely consistent, visible, and they do add value in whatever they are doing or whatever ads they're also creating. So similar to that, when you're building your personal brand, you have to ensure you're powerful, authentic, consistent, visible, and valuable. Moving forward, why is personal branding important? I have blabbered about it a lot, but here are a few points if you are still not convinced, because we are all unique in our own ways and we have a unique identity. And if you're able to use that unique identity to build an audience, get more reach, get better opportunities, enhance our credibility and our validity as well as our recognition, I think that is what makes personal branding important, because we're all unique in our own ways, but how we utilize it is what makes or breaks our personal brand. Moving forward, so the right way to personal branding is, again, like I mentioned earlier, all strong brands have those few things in common with them. We just simply have to apply it in terms of personal branding, being consistent, being genuine, selling yourself, but in the right way. You really don't have to like brag continuously to prove yourself. A lot of people get a hint of what you've been doing and respect you more if you sell yourself in the right way. Always mention only things which are true, and continue to upskill yourself. Again, I learned this the wrong way, or maybe very late, because I was not upskilling myself until class 12th. It was only when I landed up in college and I was writing on LinkedIn that one post just told me to upskill myself. And I was like, what is it all about? Why are people talking about upskilling? It was similar to personal branding, which was just becoming a buzzword at that point. And I never really knew what the actual meaning of upskilling was. And that's when I researched about it and I learned, even if I'm watching one good TED talk every day, it's upskilling my mindset. It's not necessary that you have to do a course every day, or maybe, practically do very, very physical stuff, but it's also about your mentality and your mindset. So I learned that even if you watch one good TED talk every day, it's also acting as upskilling yourself in terms of your mindset. So that is something that I learned, and I stuck to it, and I thought I'll also include it here. How do I build a personal brand? To create brand you have to define your skills, you have to understand your competition. You also understand which are the people who are in your niche you could collaborate with, and then you build your audience. Essentially, that is what you have to do, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's other social media platforms, or even offline personality building or personal brand building. So all that you have to do is understand your competition, who you can collaborate with, learn from others, and then build an audience. So Now that we come down to personal branding on social media, which is technically the topic that I wanted to talk about, is that you have to understand, and that's it why I wanted to include this, because again, it is a masterclass where you want to learn something when you leave. So 3 strategies that you need to know when you are building a personal brand is to continue to know your why always. For me, it was always social impact. So I've stuck to it from the beginning till now, and I'll continue to stick to it. For you all, also, you need to know, why do I want to do this? Is it income? Is it opportunities? Is it job? Is it my own venture? Is it just personal branding? Anything and everything is a good why. You don't need to tell it to anyone, but you have to stick to it for your future, basically. Otherwise, you will keep on getting demotivated. You will procrastinate and you will go nowhere with it. Basically, you'll start with it, leave it the next week. It's like similar to working out. If you don't know your why, you will probably not continue it every day. Happens with me a lot. So once you know your why and you stick to it, know your USP. USP, I know everybody would know here. It's your unique selling proposition. Understand what you do, which is maybe different from others, even if it is not unique. Because essentially, when you're writing content, you can't be very, very unique from others. Everybody is writing. It's just the writing style or the tone or the ideas which are different. So know your USP, even if it's a very small one. Remember it, because that is also something which will help you shine out from others. And then find your own people, people who are not a part of the competition, but instead people who you want to collaborate with or even build humanly connections with. I've found so many people like that on LinkedIn. I've learned it in a good way, that it's not always about competing with your own people, even if it's online. It's about staying with them, collaborating with them, learning with them, meeting them offline. It's been so much fun. So I think those are the 3 strategies when you're starting out on social media to build your personal brand: knowing your why, knowing your USP, and then finding your people. Your finding your people could also mean finding your audience. So whichever way you want to take it, whether collaborators, human connections, or an audience, all of it comes under finding your people. Moving forward. So basically, it is also important that you understand, why do I want to create content? Why do I want to come on the platform, and how can it help me? Again, your why. This becomes important because you need to know whether you're coming there to sell a product, to generate clients, to build a personal brand, or to just learn and network. Because all of these are pretty good whys, but we often forget about it. So that is very important. For me, it was both building a personal brand and learning and networking through creating social impact. So for me, my why was that. For you all, it can be different. If you're freelancers, it could be generating clients. A lot of people do that. A lot of people do it really, really well. So depends on all of you. It's just a prompt to tell you all to think about your why if you start out on LinkedIn. The next thing is personal branding and networking. Now, I'm almost at the end of what I was talking about. So I thought in the very end, I will give you very, very practical advice on how to get started, because you would have heard people say, start on LinkedIn, get started, and like I'm talking about right now. But it's also important to know how to reach out to people. So how many of you have a LinkedIn profile? If you could just write in the chat. And by a LinkedIn profile, I mean an optimized LinkedIn profile. I want to see how many of you say yes to this. Of course, I'm not like going to pinpoint or anything, but I want to know how many of you have an optimized LinkedIn profile. Okay, I could see 2 people writing it, waiting. Okay, I like the honesty that only 3 to 4 people have written yes, because I feel like a lot of us know that we don't have optimized profiles, even if we do have a LinkedIn. So now that we are getting into this part of the masterclass, understand, you've already understood why LinkedIn is important. But now it's important that you know how to build an optimized profile and how to engage with others, and also how to reach out to your mentors. Because for us as students, the most important thing we can do through LinkedIn is meet our mentors or our guides or people who will actually help us in our journey. So that has to be done through direct message, not comments. So let's move forward. Yes. So I've already talked about this. How will LinkedIn help? Personal branding, networking with important people, getting the right opportunities, building a profile for your jobs, or building a profile for you if you are an entrepreneur, and getting your community to sell your product or your service. This is the part which is known as your optimization. Now you can see at 2 pictures. I think you can see 2 pictures on the screen. And I just want you all to write in the chat, which one would you choose, left or right? The left one is the one with the cover, which has the mountains. The right one says Teal Feed Creator Program. Which one would you choose? I'm not asking why. I just want to know which one would you choose? Okay, I can see some things already coming in, just waiting for a minute. Awesome. So most of you have said right, which is great. That is the correct answer. What correct answer? Basically, what I was trying to explain through a practical example was the left one was me when I joined LinkedIn. The right one is me when, very recently. And I clicked the pictures very later. It was like on the same day. That's why the followers are same. But I remembered what I was doing when I started out. Where did I go wrong in the left one? The left profile is not an optimized profile. It has a bad cover. It has a selfie picture, which is absolutely informal. And it doesn't talk about me as a person in my headline. And the things that I'm teaching right now are often a part of paid sessions. So just pay attention to it, take a screenshot, whatever. So this is where you optimize your profile. This is very important, even if you're not creating content on LinkedIn, but to get the right people to notice you, to just get you the right opportunities. The right profile tells you that firstly, your profile picture has to be professional. It has to be a clear picture. Just wear a coat, go to a place where there is a white wall and smile looking at your camera and get a picture clicked. That will be your LinkedIn profile picture. Your cover image has to show what you have done or what you have achieved or something related to you as a person, not random mountains like the one on the left. And the third thing is your headline, which I've like elaborated so much on in the right one, founder, CEO at Break the Ice. I've written every one of my achievements because you have to make the most out of the character limit on LinkedIn. So when you're starting out, your headline could include numbers, anything personal about you, not extremely personal. What I mean by personal is how are you as a person or what do you want to achieve through the platform, or your tangible results or internships. That is how you work towards building an optimized profile, because people then take you seriously. The one on the left may not be taken seriously, but the profile on the right has a considerable amount of seriousness to it. So if you want to get noticed, make sure you create a profile like the right one, not the left one. I'm just giving a relative example. Yours could be even better, but ensure that it's not the left one. Do not take a picture which is informal or a selfie picture. Do not take a cover which is maybe not even related to you as a person, and elaborate in your headline, even if you're not creating content on LinkedIn. Moving forward. But the next question obviously comes is, how do I create content? Very, very important question. A lot of us have it. Just think of 2 to 3 topics you are passionate about, research about them, and think of topics where you know the gaps. Basically, in terms of, if I talk about menstruation, I knew the gaps which lie in the market. And I thought I could also write, suggestions in my post. So take 2 to 3 topics that you have ideas about and you know about them so much that you also know the gaps in them, then start creating content on this, and this would automatically become your niche. So this is your niche narrowing when you're starting out on writing content on LinkedIn. You don't need to have only one niche. You can have 2 to 3 niches, but you have to choose your topics wisely so that you can also write about them for a longer time, not just 2 days and then you don't have any content to write about. How can you do it? Observe others, get inspired, think about your favorite topics, and then align it with world happenings, or basically trending topics. Moving forward, remember your why. Even when you're writing your content, it doesn't always have to be related to 1 or 2 of the topics you talk about. It can also be related to anything that you believe is your passion or your philosophy in life. That also does well on LinkedIn. And that also ensures that you write every day and you're passionate about what you're writing. Now, the next thing which will come to your mind is, how do I technically reach out to people? I mean, I'm very nervous as a person, and how do I randomly reach out to people? Firstly, make a list of 10 to 20 people that you want to reach out to, who you would have never imagined you could reach out to. So it could be as big as, any person that you can dream of or you can wish for. It could be a CEO, a very big CEO, a unicorn CEO, anybody or everybody can be a part of your list to reach out to. How do I do it? You can do it through 2 ways. So when you're reaching out to people, you can either use a 30-second elevator pitch, or you could use this template that I'll be coming to a little later. So there are 2 ways of reaching out to people. The 30-second elevator pitch. Now, I don't think anybody knows what an elevator pitch is. I mean, even if you know what an elevator pitch is, you might not know the ideology behind it. So even if you've heard of what a elevator pitch is, an elevator pitch was named an elevator pitch because it is the idea that if you're stuck in an elevator with your dream CEO or your mentor for 30 seconds, what will you tell them about yourself? That is your 30-second elevator pitch. When you're going for offline networking events, when you're writing to someone online in a cold DM, you have to use this as a method to talk about yourself because it has to include everything. You as a person, how do you wish to collaborate with them? Why are you unique? And why do you like their work? How do you align with them? That is what an elevator pitch is all about. So for those who did not know what an elevator pitch is, this screen which I'm showing right now is what you need to remember. And obviously, if it is online, you don't have to send a 30-second thing. It has to be roughly 4 to 5 lines, which could be read within 30 seconds. And that is what you can use when you're reaching out to newer people or random people, but you also want to connect with them and act very serious. So you can use this pitch, and I'm literally coming to the last slide of my PPT, or you could use this reach out template that I have used always, which has helped me a lot as a student because technically we do not have a lot to show on our profile. So we can start by saying that how we find their work good, and obviously only reach out to people you actually like in terms of their work or their style or their personalities, because you don't want to be fake. But you can talk about how you like their work and how they are truly inspiring. Then you talk about what you've been doing in 1 or 2 sentences. If it is not an internship, you talk about where you're studying, and then you will talk about how you want to get an opportunity with them to do whatever you want to, whether it's collaboration, whether it's getting an internship, whether it's just reaching out as a mentor. And then you end by saying that I would be happy to give you more details about, how I want to communicate with you or get a coffee chat with you. A coffee chat is basically a 15-minute chat with a person who is, let's say, a stranger, but someone you want to have a chat with. So that is it from my side. I would love to stay connected with all of you. Here's my email. My LinkedIn is just Palak Khanna, Palak with an H, and you will find me at the top. So yes, thank you so much.
Okay, guys, I think you all can start dropping your queries or questions you have for Palak in the chat box below, and we'll take it up.
Thank you so much, Palak. I had a question. I just want to know that how would one be able to drive traffic to different websites if it's through LinkedIn? Like if I want to write in a long format, so even I am a content creator. So if I would want to do that, then how can I, proceed with that?
Okay, great question. Okay, so the simple answer would be create a optimized profile on LinkedIn. Like I mentioned, optimized cover image, professional picture, good headline. And then there would be this setting on your LinkedIn profile, which would say add a link. Add the link to the website that you want them to see. So if your profile is optimized, they would automatically want to see more. And if they see that website link, it would increase the traffic there. So that's what I've done with my own LinkedIn profile. I have this TalkMate link that enables them to get a 15 minutes call with me. I've just added that saying, let's talk for 15 minutes. They can directly click it and book the session or whatever they want to do, basically.
Okay. Thank you so much.
No problem. I'm sorry, Ria, I can't hear you. Nope. I can see you like saying, am I audible now? But I can't hear you.
Ria, you can post your question on the chat box if you want.
Okay, I think we have a question in the chat box. I'll answer it till now. Did you ever face a burnout because of low response? Okay, of course, that will happen in the initial 1 or 2 months when you're just starting out. It will happen on any platform. But the good thing with LinkedIn is that a lot of people actually respond to you when you write to them on direct message. So when you're sending a cold DM, 95% of the people will actually reply. So if your content is not doing well, but you've also reached out to the 10 people that you want to connect with, and you get, 8 responses out of the 10, that acts as a motivational factor. So that happened with me. Content wasn't doing well in terms of what I wanted it to do. Obviously, I was expecting to like get a lot of responses in the initial 2 months. I realized that was also wrong. But when I was getting responses from people on my messages, that's when I realized, okay, maybe it's not all about just the public responses. It's also about building those personal connections. So I think that's the answer.
So, what are the pros and cons that you would say about creating content on LinkedIn?
See, pros I talked about a lot. You'll get so many opportunities. You really need to get on the platform right now. And why do I say that? Because firstly, we are all students. We can make the most out of it because we're still in that growing phase. Secondly, because only 1% of people create content. So it's like very less competitive. Instagram is at a point where it's saturated. There are so many
Yeah,
creators creating content. LinkedIn is
totally.
like very, very far from that saturation point. So
Hmm.
if we all get into it right now, we'll obviously be the next good creators, when it gets saturated.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So for LinkedIn, you're at that early stage. So that is one of the biggest pros. You get so many opportunities, you meet so many people. That is another benefit. You're building your personal brand for jobs or as an entrepreneur. That's another benefit. The biggest negative would be that at one point you will like feel really drained with writing a lot. Why? Because the
Mhm.
algorithm only supports people who are actually writing or showing up at least every week. I know algorithms are messed up on every platform, but for specifically LinkedIn, if you don't show up for 1 week, it'll think you're no longer a creator. So it'll just be like, okay, like zero reach. So you'll have to start again. So for that matter, you will feel a little overburdened with what am I supposed to write every week? But that's why I mentioned have 2 to 3 niches. Create your content initially so that you don't have that trouble later. Okay, I think we have, yes. So I got Ria's question. There are some instances where an individual creates great content but fails to attain. Okay. See, that would happen for 1 or 2 months, but what you have to ensure is, and this is a very unpopular opinion, but I'm helping you out here. A lot of people would say quality over quantity. It's sometimes not true when you're starting out with creating content. When you're starting out, you may want to focus on both. You have to maintain a good quality. I won't say it has to be something very random that you're writing just for the sake of writing, but it also doesn't have to be very, very perfect because all of us, what we do is we're expecting to create such perfect content that we take so much time with it that we then have to post so much to get that traction or that engagement. What you should do is in the first 2 months where you're getting less engagement, try to like stay very consistent with posting first. Once you get noticed, that is where you write very, very good quality content so that that's when you grow. So once you have that engagement or that algorithm push, that's when you write quality content. That's when you will see a boost in your profile. I hope that helps. I think the question was a little different, but I've just answered it. Okay, I can see 2 more questions. Okay, 3 more questions. Were you concerned about having so much competition already? Honestly, there isn't any competition. I'm being very frank. When you see the age bracket, you'll realize there are like 5% of people who are like 18, 19, 20 who are creating content. There will be a lot of passive profiles. Maybe a lot of you are also passive, in terms of just reading or updating your experience section. But those people who are actually creating content are very few. So there's a very less competition, honestly. Okay, next question. How do you stay current with the trending? See, LinkedIn helps a lot in that. So since it is not a saturated pro platform at currently this point, you will realize that you'll get to know all the trending topics right in front of your feed. So at one point, you will realize everybody's writing about the same thing and you'll automatically know the trending topics. But you also have to ensure that you don't get into the bandwagon always, because that just decreases your credibility as a person. You're just, because I'll give you the simplest example. I can think of that instantly at the moment because that's all that my feed is, for these days. Shark Tank season 2. People are constantly bashing it. Even the supporters are getting unnoticed because there was so much bashing and so much controversy that you'll realize if you write about it, it will only decrease your credibility because people will assume that, okay, there is, okay, one more creator who's writing about it. You'll not get engagement. Trust me. That's not how trends work. Either you get on a trend very quick or you don't get on it. Because when you are amongst those 2,000 people who are creating content, you will get ignored. And then you will feel bad that why am I even creating content on trending topics? But LinkedIn is very easy to get to those trending topics just because there are less people creating content, and even those who are creating will talk about one trending topic every day. So it's like you can actually create an entire list of people who can help you get the right kind of topics to talk about. How does LinkedIn assist individuals in their daily lives? Again, I talked about this so much, guys. See, I'll give you an example. When you read um, the content which is there, it will help you personally because you're actually developing opinions on a lot of topics. And that is something which you might not be able to do in your normal conversation because you're not meeting essentially every person that is online. Firstly, that. Secondly, it's a good blend of a personal and a professional platform. So you also have different ideas that you get on the platform as a person. One day you're talking about very technical stuff like how to get jobs, how to get resumes. One day you're talking about how to ensure that you maintain your mental health. I'm so sorry. I think my camera is causing some problem. I'm going to turn on my video. Yes, sorry. So yes, so what I was saying was that in terms of professional and personal help, LinkedIn can help drastically. I think I have become an ambivert because I've heard so many voices on the platform that I've learned that maybe it's not wrong to express my opinions, because as an introvert, you have that feeling that, maybe I shouldn't. But I think I've learned gradually that through the platform that it's also helped my personality grow. And professional mein to I told you a lot of stuff: opportunities, mentors, guidance, even jobs, and also for customers if you are an entrepreneur. Someone has just written, okay, I think this is the last comment. Thank you. Also, it's funny that you said you're an introvert, but you're so good at communicating. That is the biggest compliment. I'm taking a screenshot of that because that means so much to me. And I think I've gradually turned into an ambivert, like I was saying, just because I've been talking to so many people. In the last 1 year, I've talked to over 40,000 people. I'm not even exaggerating because I've been to like 30 events. I've spoken at 30 events and I've just learned ki, okay, maybe I have to get and observe and absorb the energy of the people who are in the crowd. So I think I adapt to that. I will never be an extrovert, I will tell you all, because I don't think I can do that. I always need my own space to just recharge myself. But yeah, I've gradually become an ambivert. But thank you so much for that. So yes, I think those were all the questions. I'm so sorry I have to turn off my video.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Hello,
Hi.
ma'am. My one more question also, ma'am. Ma'am,
Yes.
how to the LinkedIn connected to the so many professional companies and the firms, and also the international student also regarding the international professional university regarding the masters and PhD program also, ma'am. Please, ma'am, guide me and help me, ma'am. Help me, ma'am.
Okay, so for the first part of the question where you said, I forgot the question. I think professionals, right? How do you connect with professionals? It's very simple. Again, like I said, make a list of people you want to actually connect with, or maybe make a list of companies you want to connect with. Then research about those companies and their employees on LinkedIn. LinkedIn has an advanced search button. Just click on that, write the person that you want to search about. Obviously, we will not know the names, but if we write HR at Deloitte, for example, you will get a lot of profiles, right? So try to just narrow down on those people, make a list of people and connect with those people. Then build your personal brand so that you also get noticed by them, so that you're not forcing yourself on them. Instead, they get to know about your work. And yes, then even you can also approach them for a coffee chat. I think that works well. When you say you just need 15 minutes of someone's time, more or less, they would say yes, because 15 minutes is a less time. And for us as students, it is a benefit because people feel we are serious, which we should be. But if we are reaching out, people assume we are serious and they want to help us. So if you feel like you found the profile you want to get a job from, then tell them to just give the 15 minutes of their time so that you can have a coffee chat. I hope that helps. In terms of the second part of the question, international students, you really just have to search for profiles. I also did this. So basically, I wanted to go to foreign just to study for my bachelor's. I did not go because the pandemic happened and I thought I can't really live alone in this uncertainty, but I was supposed to go and I got a scholarship, but I didn't go. So when I realized that, I just went on LinkedIn, I searched people, whichever university is your dream university, search that. There will be tens of thousands of people who have already built a profile, who are either alumni of the university or current students. Connect with them, learn about the experiences they have at that university, so that you can actually understand whether it's your dream university or not. Because a lot of times we have perceptions based on what we read online. But when you learn from people's personal experiences, it can drastically change your opinions. So I think that is how you start. And in terms of opportunities, stay connected to the alumni. They might actually recommend you when you need those recommendations. So I hope that helps.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, I think there are no more questions to take from. So it was a lovely session. I would like to thank Ms. Palak Khanna for sharing her secret mantras with us on how to be a LinkedIn guru. The way in which she steadily drove us through her journey with many relevant examples, Gen Z relatable examples, was extraordinary. I would like to thank our principal ma'am, Jasbir ma'am, and Dharti ma'am for guiding us in organizing this informative webinar. Thank you to my team and our audience for making the most out of this precious hour. Okay, so bye everyone. Have a great day. And before that, I'm posting a feedback link on the chat box. Please fill it up and see you in our next masterclass.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.